Chef Andrew here to teach you how to make a Bordelaise sauce, which is a derivative of the Espagnole sauce. The Espagnole sauce being one of the mother sauces, and we use that to create a demi-glace. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to actually need something to cook. Usually steak is the best to have with Bordelaise sauce. So I have 4 steaks prepped and seasoned, ready to go. You can use any type of steak you want. As long as you have a lean fat, it's been trimmed, you have a good seasoning on it, something that won't clash with the sauce. All right, salt, pepper, paprika, a little bit of garlic in there with some dehydrated orange peel is what I'm using. So we're gonna pan sear that. Then we're gonna add in half a shallot chopped after we remove the steaks. So we'll pan sear the steaks, we'll remove them. We'll add in some butter, a tablespoon, half a shallot chopped. We'll saute that, and then we're going to add in 2 cups of wine. Now, this is for high schoolers. Ask your parents if they want to use wine. There's also cooking wine, but I'm actually going to be using a full-bodied Bordeaux for this. All right, and then olive oil is just for me to start the searing of the steaks. I don't want to sear steaks in butter. That'll burn really, really easy. So we're going to sear in an oil. High smoke point oil, please, so vegetable oil will work just nicely. Alright, and then lastly you're going to need a long stem lighter, and we'll show you why in a second. Alright, the last ingredient you don't see here, it's still chilling, is the demi-glace. It's in the fridge. I want to keep it in the fridge until the last possible second that I need it. Alright, so when I come back we'll begin the cooking process. Alright, so we're going to start with a pan over medium-high heat. Make sure your pan's heated thoroughly before you add your oil. So we're going to add some oil in the pan. This is enough to cover the bottom a little bit. Alright, then using your tongs, add 1 steak at a time. We do not want to crowd the pan, so I'm only going to do 2 steaks at a time, even though I have 4. But after each one is crusted on each side for about 1.5 to 2 minutes, I'll move these into the oven to finish roasting, and then we'll start the Bordelaise sauce. Alright, so we want to make sure we get a nice, good crust on our steaks before we put them in the oven. Alright, so don't burn them, just get some nice colored brown to caramelize on both sides. Again, about 1.5 to 2 minutes for each side, and then pop it in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes until they're at the temperature that you want them to be. Alright, steaks are in the oven, so we're going to go ahead and add our butter now. And this will help loosen that fond that's on the bottom of the pan here, because we want that flavoring in our sauce. It'll help. Okay, get that mixed around. Add in your half a shallot. And we're just going to render the shallot down until it's almost translucent. Okay, so you'll need to turn down your heat till medium-low. Okay. And then while that's rendering, we're actually going to throw in a couple sprigs of thyme. Because Bordelaise is not a Bordelaise without the shallots and the thyme. I threw the whole sprig of thyme in there. We're not keeping any of the shallots or the thyme in here. We're just using these to flavor the sauce. Okay. Burnt thyme and it's not a good way to eat something. So if we leave that in there too long, it will burn. Okay. Shallots have are starting to become translucent. So now I'm going to go ahead and add our wine. Again, get your parents' permission to use a wine. You can use any red wine really, but a Bordeaux is the best. If they don't want you using wine, go ahead and use a cooking wine, a red cooking wine, and that is fine. We're going to bring this up to a boil here in a second as the pan gets hotter. Just scrape the pan. We want to make sure all the fond gets in here. And we're going to reduce this until it's a syrup almost. But before that, we need to make sure that we get this up to a boil, or at least a simmer. Because before we finish the sauce, before we let it reduce, we got to do one other thing to it. Okay, so as it begins simmering, that's what this was for. We're going to burn off the alcohol. And if it doesn't start, it means it's not evaporating yet. So we're just going to have to hold off on that. So as soon as it begins to simmer, okay, make sure your vent fan though is off. You don't want to suck anything into your vents here. It won't be a nice high flame. It'll just be a nice little light colored flame. There we go. And we're just cooking the alcohol off of the wine. And it will put itself out. Alright, there we go. Now it's pretty much all the way. It's about maybe 10% of alcohol is left in there, but that'll cook off when we reduce it. Alright, we're going to reduce this down into a syrup, so turn it down to where it's simmering and let it simmer until we have a syrup, and I'll come back when that's ready. Alright, I've got this down to where it's a really syrupy thing. Basically, if you can move your spoon, whatever you're using through it, it leaves a trail and it takes a long time for it to fill back in. That's what we're looking at. So right about now is when I'm going to add our demi-glace that we made. Okay. Give this a good little stir. Bring it up back to a boil. Okay. So right now we have a really dark looking sauce. Okay, we're going to bring this back up to a boil. And we're going to reduce it just a little bit more. Not too long, maybe about 15 minutes. As it's simmering, 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Okay, until we have a nice thick sauce, something we don't need to thicken with a cornstarch, arrowroot, or a roux. We want it to cling to the steak that we made. Okay, when that's reduced down, I'll be back. Alright, so I have reduced it down to where it needs to be. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to take it off the heat for a second, and we're actually going to strain it into another pan, a clean pan. We have a fine chinois over. We want to make sure that we get everything out of here. We want all of this liquid. Okay. So using your spoon, make sure you just kind of give it a push. We want all of this liquid to go into the pan below. And then what we're going to do, I'm just going to leave it here in the pan. I'm actually going to add about half a tablespoon of butter. Okay, and we're just going to give this a nice little mix like this. We're not going to use a whisk. We're not going to use anything that'll incorporate air. We don't want to lose the consistency of the sauce. But the butter will help add a shine to it. The residual heat will melt it. Okay, we're just being gentle. Okay. And now we've got your Bordelaise sauce. Okay, and it goes right over your meat or on your plate as a base. All right. I'll be back in a few to show you how to plate using this sauce. All right, so let's go ahead and plate using our Bordelaise sauce. Okay, so in between segments and whatever else I was doing, I went ahead and made some roasted new potatoes using a blend of African seasonings. Okay, put them right there on the side. I also sauteed those green beans in an earlier video. I'm just going to lean them right here. I sauteed them in butter, shallots, and garlic. Then those steaks that I made earlier. Okay, I'll stack them right here. Okay. So far, so good, right? And now we have that Bordelaise sauce. Okay. After you had finished the butter, you should have made sure that the taste was good. It should be slightly salty. I should coat your tongue very well. It should almost be a viscous syrup. Okay. And we're just going to take this and just drizzle it right there. Okay. Don't want that green bean laying there. Want that up here. Alright. And then clean your plate. No random dots anywhere. Alright. Another pass, and then we'll finish that with some fresh Italian curly parsley. Adds a nice little pepper zing to the dish. and a depth of color. Okay, and there you have it. A filet steak with African roasted new potatoes, steamed green beans that have been sauteed with shallots and garlic, and your Bordelaise sauce. I hope if you guys make this that you guys enjoy it. Bon appetit.